and Ray Kelsey. And then I've got Dave Schrader with us as well. Come on in, guys. Colorado. Where do you want to sit, Dave?
How y'all doing? Oh, shit. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Come sit with me.
Come on. How's everybody doing?
You guys hear something underneath the stage?
Sure.
Shane, go check it
Oh, no. How's everybody doing? Good? You having fun so far?
Yeah.
Now my voice is going out, so if I squeak, why not?
My
Gone
son's
through
just hit
puberty.
puberty, so.
That's right. I'm a Southerner. I can't help it.
Well, welcome. So we have the Colorado team here. What made you guys want to start to ghost hunt?
Well, for me, it happened when I was a kid. I was asleep one night and woke up in the middle of the night and I had a pet bird. And when I looked at the cage, I saw like the outline of a figure behind the cage. It looked like it was trying to talk to me, but I couldn't figure out what it was trying to say. And of course, being a little kid, I got so scared. I threw the covers over my head and was like, I'll deal with this some other time. Woke up the next morning and my bird had actually died and was at the bottom of the cage. And that kind of resonated with me for so long that the older I got, the more I was like, I got to figure out what this was and what was going on. That's what.
So there's a Grim Reaper for birds.
There is.
We'll have to ask them. The birds go to heaven. A special
I mean,
bird.
I know all dogs do that.
Yeah, there's a special bird. What about you? I talked to Shane and Amy on Scarefest TV. What made you guys want to start ghost hunting and really get into the paranormal?
Amy?
Well, for me, it's been since I was a kid. I have been seeing spirits since I was about 4 or 5. But it wasn't until later on in life, probably in my mid-20s, I tried thinking back on like why I was so scared of the dark, why I was so scared. I pretty much slept with my brother for like my whole childhood. So for me, it was just, I started out as a curiosity because I wanted to know if there was other people out there like me, and I found out there really was, which is awesome. I joined a paranormal team probably early 2000s, and then I joined as their medium. But it's more or less for me, it's a passion because I love helping people. So a lot of people carry burdens with them when they have people who pass away. So for me, it is about being able to make that connection for people and to help them move on with their life. And I love just seeing ghosts.
So my first paranormal experience was when I was 6 years old. And I went and told my mother about it, and it was a very profound thing for me. And all of the experiences that I had in a early childhood and on, it was always centered around abuse that was going on in my life. I would have these moments that would kind of snap me back out of that and would let me know that there's more than that current life I was living at the time, that there was more than the crappy life I was living. And as I got into my teenage years, I was trying to research and try to figure out what was going on with me, why was it happening? And that kind of catapulted me into all of this and investigating with Dave, and then having him sending me to creepy ass basements and attics and any other creepy place. And yeah, that's a very condensed version of what got me into the field, or what got me interested.
Dave, I also interviewed Dave like a long time ago on Scarefest TV, but I don't remember asking you this question. I want to hear your answer to that. What made you start ghost hunting?
You know, I grew up with paranormal activity around me my entire life and had strange things go on. And in 2005, a buddy of mine that I used to do college radio with said, hey, I'm program directing this one radio station. We have 1 hour to fill every Sunday from 11 to midnight. You want to do a radio show? I said, sure. He goes, what should we talk about? I said, let's do the paranormal. So we launched a radio show on January 1st, 2006, talking about the paranormal. And I wanted to, you know, I grew up Memory on Coast to Coast AM. And they were always sitting behind my listening to the stories. And I wanted to go inject myself into the stories to see if they were true. So in 2006, I started going out to these places that were reportedly haunted and have all these great backstories and UFO sightings, Bigfoot locations, and just trying to become part of that to see it for myself. So that was really what kind of drove me into wanting to understand and see these things, go to the places people claim to have all these experiences. And I've been very lucky to, in the last 18 years, I've been to about 10 different countries. I've been all 5 states in the United States, and I've had a chance to investigate some of the most famous, infamous, and some of the most quiet locations we've ever been to. So it's been pretty cool. And doing the show, Holzer Files, when they opened it up to us, we went out and did that show. We did 2 seasons, Shane and I together with Cindy Keza, and then they didn't pick up the 3rd season, sadly. And they rolled Cindy and I over to a show called Ghost of Devil's Perch. And Mark Hayden, the producer, said we really wanted to bring Shane on us, but we already had an engineer, a techie. Yeah, we really wanted to work with Shane. He goes, but anyway, I got to work on this other TV program. I wanted you to be the nerve center guy on this other show I'm doing called 28 Days Haunted on Netflix. And I said, oh, really? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, yeah, we're screwed right now. We need to find a team of 3 investigators. And everybody's got teams that are either too big or it's just a husband and wife. But we need a team of 3. And I said, well, how bad did you want to work with Shane? And he said, oh, yeah, Dave, if I could have, I would have. I said, okay, you can. He's got a team called The Searchers. It's him and his buddy Josh Purvis and Ray Cosby. Put them on. So they interviewed him. They chose Ray and Shane. And then they came back to me and they said, we'd like to replace one of the guys. We just want to have it more balanced. We'd like if you know any good female sensitives. And I said, you know, I do. I have this friend of mine, Amy, that I've worked with in the past and has come to some of my conferences and events. And I'm going to call. They go up there and they put her all together with these guys. And they got a chance to launch in 28 Days On. So it's been kind of a cool storyline just watching this through thing go. So I was kind of one of the backdoor producers on the show, helping with some of the stories and finding people to be involved in the program. And I'm just curious because I know Ray, this was your first time doing TV,
Right.
and Amy, same with you. What were your takes from being private investigators to now being in front of a camera where the world is watching every move you're making? What was that like? How hard of a transition was that?
For me, it definitely was a little bit of a struggle, I guess I would say, because I wasn't used to that type of thing. But some of us are used to Dave putting us in positions that, you know, we're not real comfortable with at first.
Same positions.
Yeah, that can take a whole different turn.
I will say that part. Like, but he did it because he believed in us. So it's, for me, it was a little bit of a transition, but at the same time, I love it. I embrace it. I'm humble. I love it.
I think fortunately for us, with this show, we didn't have camera crews. So there wasn't somebody with a camera right in your face. All the cameras were stationary. They were placed in the house before we got there. So we didn't have any camera people. So you didn't feel like you were on television. You could feel the camera rotating and following you. But other than that, it just kind of felt like we were just living. And so that made it easier too. So like right in your face. That was pretty easy.
Did you guys have like to adjust your investigative style to be a part of 28 Days Haunted? Like, especially being in a location that long. I mean,
Yeah, it was a struggle because the only stuff we had to investigate with was what we brought with us. Like once we were there was no, hey, let's run out to somewhere and get some new equipment. We were stuck. So we were having to use new methods with old equipment, try to come up with new things. We'd spend 2 to 3 hours a day trying to game plan what we were going to do that night. We could investigate for 8 hours, and one night you run out of stuff to do. But imagine doing it for a minimum of 6 hours a day, 7 days a week for 28 straight days. How much can you possibly figure out how to do with minimal amount of equipment?
Yeah, and it was trying to utilize everybody's individual gifts on the show too. So it was trying to figure out, okay, there's only so much tech stuff we can do. so what can we do next that will allow Amy to open up, which we did the candle scrying and some really cool experiments that really gave us a lot of answers in the end, I believe. It was an amazing experience, very rewarding, but very, very challenging.
So have you guys ever been to that location before? Like, is that, I'm in Kentucky, we all know Waverly Hills. So I wondered if that was a location in Colorado that was notorious.
Oh, shit.
So to answer your question, look, with our investigations and with us doing this pretty much full time, we know of a lot of places, but this place was not radar at all. It was at nobody's radar. And so whenever we took the blindfold off and we saw it for the first time, I was like, oh man, this is beautiful. It looks creepy, but I have no damn clue what it is. I thought because it was Netflix, I was like, okay, we're going to be going to the Stanley because we knew we were going to go to Denver. That's the only information we had. So I was like, this is Netflix money. We're going to Stanley. Took the blindfold off and we were surprised.
Not only did we not have any idea where we were, but there was a sign in the bed and breakfast that told us the name. What, 4 or 5 days to even see the sign. We were so
lost.
We were looking for the hidden things that we didn't even see, like the things that were in plain.
They were like, dude, you call yourself investigators, you don't even see, like, you don't look at pictures on walls or anything. But when you get there, you're just so enamored by everything. You're wondering how everything's going to play out. It's a new environment. You're basically living in a brand new place for a month. I mean, it is that whole aspect, minus the haunting part of it. That's challenging because you're away from your family. You know you're going to be away from your family. You're in a completely new place, and it was the first mansion I ever lived in for a month. So,
And if I could ask, because, doing Holzer files and then you guys doing searchers and just independent investigating, we get locations for a couple of days, 2, 3 days to really kind of be in there. Did you notice more, like the longer you were in there, the concept that after 28 days, you're going to see a full variety of paranormal activity? Did you notice yourself becoming more sensitive to the location? Do you think that activity was always taking place around you, but you just had to be there longer to actually start to sense it? Each one of them, please.
yeah, I think that is absolutely the case. If you watch these ghost shows and stuff, you see, like Dave said, they're there for a couple of days and then gone. So you don't really have a lot of time to really do a full investigation. With this show, we were able to do that. And the more we got immersed into it, the more we opened up. And I believe that, we play a major part in what we call haunting. I think we are a big part of that as far as with our energy. When you're stressed, people around feel it, so I think that we're more powerful than we even realize in terms of that. So I think when you're in a location for that long, you pick up on the atmosphere, especially with us, because we weren't able to leave. So we were there full time. So I think after a while, absolutely it plays a part in it.
Yeah, definitely, because like for all of us, I know me and Shane have talked about this, and me and Amy and all of us as well. When you have contact with the same spirits for 28 straight days, you develop a bond with them, just like we bonded being in the location. We bonded with the spirits, and to this day, there's really not very many days that don't go by that I don't think about Kara, Mary Ann, and what went on in that house and what happened to them, and so it was hard to say goodbye to my family whenever we left Tufville. It was hard to say goodbye to those girls when we were leaving, just because we felt attached to them after that.
We really did. I was very, very much connected to Kara. And speaking of what Dave was asking, Shane, that did happen to you while you were there, because while we were there, Shane started having very specific dreams of the two girls, because in the process, we were trying to figure out like what happened to them and what the history of the home was and all that. So it was really exciting to see Shane kind of come out of his, what would you call that? Comfort
Yeah,
zone.
I mean, it was mind blowing. So just to put it into context, we didn't know the location. We didn't know any of the history at all. And I was starting to have dreams, very vivid ones, that, you know, after the dream, we would go, because we sat outside in the backyard, me and Ray, on a bench and would just swing like two old men, just talking, because you don't have a lot that you can do when you can't leave, right? So I would tell these dreams and tell of these experiences, and we would get like a walkie-talkie. They would be, the producers on site would be radioing in and saying, well, we don't know how to tell you this, Shane, but your dream was like verbatim what happened in 1970, and we don't know how how this is happening or whatever. And I remember we would have these moments, we would have these talks, like we would be sitting at a table, like, what in the hell is going on? This is I mean, tears would well up in my eyes, because I'm like, I've never had something this intense and this profound happen. And why is it happening? And just right there, even though I've been doing this for years and years and years, it's the most validating thing whenever you can have something that intense and that profound happen in your life. It even further validates why we do what we do,
Right.
because there is more out there.
All those emotions and all those feelings that you can't leave, you can't decompress. So you just have to stay with them, and you have to stick with them, and there's no getting away from them. So you have to turn around, you have to face it, you have to keep moving.
What was one of your all's favorite moments from your time on 28 Days Haunted?
I'll start real quick. So on the Holzer files, I was always being sent to the crappy places, right? So, and it was because of this guy right here. But on 28 Days Haunted, I got to be the Dave for once.
It's good to be the Dave, isn't it?
It is. But you know what's even worse is I didn't.
What? Tell us, we want to know.
Okay, on second thought, we're good with the moderating group. But anyway, what's messed up about it is they, on the show, because of time restraints, they did all the moments where I was like, hey, Ray, go into the creepy tunnel. And while he's got the blindfold on, I told Amy, I was like, hey, let's just go and we'll leave him in there and close the door behind him and leave him in there for an hour and a half. And I did that, and they didn't show it on the show. I was like, the only redeeming thing I had to get away from the poor Shane moments of the Holzer files was to do this, and y'all don't even show it. So I don't even get redeeming quality at all.
Yeah.
But that was my favorite, was putting them into those, putting them into those moments and seeing what would happen.
What about you guys, Ray and Amy?
What's your favorite moment? I would have to say, when we were in the basement and we were doing the SD something, and I was completely, couldn't hear, couldn't see, couldn't do anything. There was so much chaos apparently going on these two parts, and you can finish that.
Yeah, so Amy can't hear us, she can't see us, she's in her own world, and at the same time, we had seen a shadow figure behind me, which you can see that on the show, you kind of see a glimpse of it, and then the manhole above her literally started shaking. So of course, Shane panics and immediately goes to leave, and I have to grab his arm, and I'm like, Shane, we gotta get her, she can't hear us, so you said, let's go, but she's not going
I'm
anywhere.
a little
She
bit
can't hear.
jumpy, I can't.
So he's ready to just abandon ship, and he's just gonna leave her down there. I'm like, hey, we can't leave yet.
Sorry about that.
I think my favorite moment was when I got to climb out of that manhole, because like it was awesome, and like I was sitting there and I'm like, man, I can't do this. Like this is gonna be bad. Like this is the whole point. So and I climbed out of it, and I was proud of myself, and I had a huge gash on my arm, and I was bleeding, and I was like,
And I told Ray, I said, man, it'd be so easy for you, so why don't you go ahead and do it? It'd be a challenge.
He made it look so easy.
He made it
That
look
was
easy, huh?
Not easy at all.
there was nothing to hold on to. You literally just had to jump up and grab sides of the manhole and just pull yourself up. So it was,
I couldn't do it.
Well, I gotta ask, if you guys had to pick one location in the world where you could spend 28 days, what would it be?
I'll go first if you don't have anything. Because I've actually had this conversation with Nick Simons, the guy that was on the Connecticut team, the big guy with the big beard. Me and him talked about like what we would do, and we both said we want to do somewhere like super hard where it was like, you know, they would try and force you to leave early. So we both picked Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary. We want to be pushing our limits, so we
I would
picked
actually,
somewhere.
I think Amityville would be pretty interesting.
That would be interesting to see, because there's so many rumors about that. That would be
Right.
really cool.
Well, that and the fact that the family only stayed there 28 days.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
We're giving away show ideas, right? So,
And can I mention one thing? Just so you guys know, Amityville will never happen.
Right.
Nobody's ever gonna get into Amityville. They've offered up to $1.5 million to film there for 2 days for one of the TV shows that might rhyme with Ghost Adventures. God, I suck at rhyming. But, they can't, when you buy the house, you are not allowed to turn it into any like bed and breakfast or museum. You can't do anything that opens it up to the public. If you go out there and just stand in front of the house, neighbors will blow their horns at you and scream at you, and so obviously it's still demonically infested. The neighbors are possessed. They'll get you, and they drive by. So just stop asking. It's never going to happen on a paranormal TV show. You know, maybe around the 100th anniversary, they'll figure out a way to loophole it. Or if we go into COVID lockdown again and Amityville needs to influx tourism, maybe they'll consider it, but that's just never gonna.
Isn't it a private residence right now?
Yeah, well, you can film inside the house, but you cannot film the exterior of the house or anything around. It's very weird, the rules. So it's like, well, we could be on a movie set, right? How are people gonna know this is inside the Amityville house? You can't show the outside of the Amityville house. It's just part of what you sign. So even though it's private property, it's not as private as you think, just like government can annex your property and things can always take place. They just want to control that property so that, you know, the rest of the neighbors don't need that. But I do think it's funny that people that buy the Amityville house and then bitch about people stopping at the Amityville house.
Yeah,
They buy one of the
duh.
most famous houses in the world. Can't complain when people stop by and want to take pictures.
Iconic.
yeah, so my place, that I would like to investigate for 20 days is Waverly Hills Cemetery. I've had some of my most profound experiences there. Saw full-on shadow figures, hearing disembodied voices, and just having some really amazing experiences. For me to stay there for 28 days straight would be a dream. I think there would be so much activity that we would be catching there.
That would be so scary. If any of you guys have any questions, feel free to walk up to the mic, or just speak out. We'll be happy to answer. There's not many people. I mean, there's a lot of people in here, but
Not all at once, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
What can help?
So I know that the story behind the show is that once you reach that 28 days, you know, that's when you fully break through to the spirit.
Right.
Yeah.
So like it's basically you pierce the veil to the other side.
Did you notice a difference there at the end, like a noticeable difference where like this is definitely the reason you can have to do different songs?
For sure. I mean, definitely notice a difference, but I think, you know, it's 28 days. It was based off loosely off the theories of Ed and Lorraine Warren. And I think sometimes we put numbers to it, but I remember after 10 days, we were having breakthroughs and experiences. So to put a number on it, you know, I'm kind of iffy with that. I do feel like the longer that you're there, the more intense and the more rewarding the experiences could be, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there was another part of the show that ended up on the cutting room floor, but we had transcribed one of our Estes methods. We transcribed every word that we heard the whole time, and we literally pick out the entire story of what happened based on that.
It was
Every
insane.
word was in there. It just took us a while to figure it out. We went back at the end in the last few days, looked at those transcripts, and found every word we needed to piece the story together after like day 10.
And this is, again, without knowing anything
Right.
about the location or the story at all. I mean, it's amazing.
So we basically got our entire history, the entire story of everything pretty much that went in that house, all from the spirits through our experiments and abilities. It was insane.
Looking at
I wanted to ask, when you all did,
Yeah.
and you had the automatic writing,
Yes.
I know you did about
Yeah.
at the time. What, do you have any side effects from that? I mean, I've always been able to see years or something like that, to take control of your body and start writing.
For those of you that can't hear, she was talking about, I did a special called The Curse of Z. Gordon on Travel Channel, and was the lead investigator with Chris Fleming, the medium, and Sam Beltrusis, who's a real relative of Z. Gordon, and Lynn Jolly. We went in and investigated it over a period of a few days. And during the seance, the end of the episode, we were all holding hands at the table, and as I'm holding Chris's hand, my arm's flopping, and I thought, oh my God, what's going on? Bullshit, what's going on? And then he let go of my hand, and it was my hand opposite. And I was like, what the flip is happening? And Chris goes, I know what's happening. Give me a marker, Dave. Keep your eyes closed, just focus. And then he put a marker in my hand, I put a piece of paper down, and I started automatic writing. If you've seen Cindy Kaza do it, she's very fluid. That's because she's comfortable with that. To have something moving your arm that you are not is a very uncomfortable, unsettling situation. Very freaky. I fought it. I wish I wouldn't have, because first of all, my arm and shoulder was holding for about a week and a half because I was fighting so hard. But second of all, I wish I would have been able to just let go and let the messages come out. Oh yeah, it's like when the first time your leg falls, it's like you go to stand on it, it's just, you can't feel your leg. You're like, what is happening? Kind of that sense, only it's writing words without your help, So that was very disturbing. And then, yes, it left me open. Chris didn't shut me down. What I didn't know, he talks about on the show, is he told the spirits, I want you to prove Dave, because he's still kind of a skeptic about the psychic ability stuff. Even though he's seen it, he's still a skeptic. So when it came through me, it freaked me out. And he never showed me how to shut down. When I went on, I immediately went out and started filming Ghost of the Devil's Purge with Cindy, and I had that attack where I felt the psychic scar getting shot, and then had the Estes method, which broke me down. I called Chris, dude, something's wrong with me. He goes, oh yeah, I meant to help you close down. And I'm like, dick, what do you mean? What? So between Chris and Cindy, they all kind of teach me down, and that's I don't want to be any. I'll let Amy be the medium, or Cindy be the medium, or Chris, because that's a different realm. You think you want that ability until something starts talking to you or moving your body parts. Yeah.
Well, I have a question for our audience. Are any of you guys ghost hunters? Woo-hoo.
Very cool.
What?
Kind of, a little bit.
I gotta use we go to some places in Louisville.
Okay, what's the YouTube channel?
Spurt 72, SPR 72.
Oh, I'm not falling for that shit. The minute I look up Spurt 72, I'm gonna get all kinds of weird porno sites.
We'll do it SPR 72.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you for verifying. Thank you.
Cool, we'll check it out. That's awesome.
Cool, thank
So, what do you guys? What's your advice to amateur ghost hunters like me?
Don't play with Ouija boards. Okay, that's my advice.
That's good advice.
I would say that if you're in it just for the thrill and adrenaline rush, be very careful with that. Because sometimes you can go into it, if you go into a situation wanting to get scared and wanting kind of like the negative, scary part of it, your intention is very important. If you go into something wanting the positive aspects of it, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get the positive. If you go into a situation looking for negative, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get that. Same with our everyday lives. If you go around focusing on the negative, you're going to find and pinpoint every single negative thing, and it's going to consume your life. It's the same with these investigations and stuff. You need to make sure that if you're getting into it, you are serious about it. You need to make sure that your intention is in the right place. You need to make sure that you're researching and studying as much as you can, because knowledge is power, and the more that you know with that stuff, the better the outcome will be. Yeah, respect is important as well. Yep. Okay.
I have had something follow. But fortunately, we have been on our feet. And it was actually, it didn't stay long. And I think the reason why it always came home was because I don't know if it's funny. They just usually because I started this back and I acknowledged it, but it didn't stay long. And now I'm extremely careful when I do this.
Yeah, it's very important.
Extremely careful. And it actually was something that I learned a lot from, you know. So I try to protect myself prior to even going in. And I think antagonizing is something.
Yeah, that's the thing, learning a lot from it, like she said. Having an open mind is a big thing too. Because, growing up, I grew up in a religious household. So I was told psychics, all this stuff, they were demonic, they were evil, stay away from them, right? But the more that I would learn and research, the more open-minded I was. It's like, okay, people have gifts. It's not just something that we need to discard. We need to keep an open mind. And if there are people that are legitimate out there, I think we need to be accepting and open to that. What about you though, Rick?
I think for me, I think the biggest piece of advice is keep your expectations grounded. Don't expect to go into every location and have this profound experience, because we were in the same place for 28 days. There were numerous days when we investigated for 6 hours and it was nothing. We were just listening to white noise for 6 hours. So don't expect every location to just be a hit. Sometimes you're going to go, sometimes you're going to investigate, and it's just going to be nothing. Don't let that discourage you. Just keep pushing, find another location, keep going, and eventually you'll find somebody that's going to give you what you want.
Do you think, from your experiences on personal investigations in 28 Days Haunted, that it's better to go in with an open mind and know the history of the location? Like, would that maybe do a power of suggestion to you guys, or what's your opinion on that?
I think if you're a medium or a sensitive, I think going in without any information to begin with can be beneficial. That way, whatever you pick up on, matching with the history and with the facts, and it can be validating for you in that regard. But I do think for like on a technical side, or if you're using equipment to try to investigate, I think again, knowledge is power, and I think going into it, kind of having the knowledge of the history, you can, whatever you pick up on, or if you have a medium with you, you can have notes that you can reference. Like, okay, I know this about the history. She just said this that matches with that. So knowledge is power.
I think, the difference between doing like a private investigation versus 28 days on it is, as far as knowing the location, we had the luxury of having 28 days to figure it out. But if you go in completely blind to a new location, you've only got maybe one night to figure everything out. So I at least like to have a baseline where I know where to start, or somewhere where I can start. Like if I know a bunch of activity in this room, I know I can at least start there. If you go in completely blind, you run the risk of not giving yourself enough time to really thoroughly investigate.
What's your favorite piece of equipment to use?
Mine is the SLS camera, only for the simple fact of things that I've already been picking up on will be validated through. Well, a lot of the equipment is validated.
That's the camera that's got the little stick figure.
That is right. Stick figures,
Okay.
yes. So you can see where there's anomalies sitting in certain areas and energy spots.
For me, it's got to be the spirit box because it's such a small piece of equipment that you can use in so many different ways and use in so many different methods that it's easy to carry around. You're not plugging a whole bunch of stuff. So I love the spirit box.
And my favorite is just a good old fashioned digital recorder or voice recorder. Captured so many great EVPs, which is electronic voice phenomenon for people who don't know. It's just where you capture a voice on a recorder that is no one else's. You don't know where it came from. A recorder is by far my favorite. And we've done investigations, and he uses this one recorder called a DR60, and the evidence and stuff that he's gotten with that recorder has blown my mind. Fascinating stuff. So a recorder for me for sure.
This is just because I'm kind of a negative person at heart. Do you guys, what's your pet peeve when you're ghost hunting? For me, I've had investigators that bait on a ghost hunt. It drives me insane. I'm
Where'd
like,
that mist come from?
yeah, I was like, do you smell strawberries? Like, do you guys have anything like that?
My pet peeve is when the bastard you sent to the basement comes running up screaming your name. Dave! Dave!
I don't talk like that, okay? He's exaggerating a little bit. My pet peeve is being sent to the creepy ass places.
I
No,
like going to the creepy places. Maybe it's because I'm a girl and I'm just like, look, I'm only slightly spiders. Like,
And just so you guys are clear, on the Holzer files, when we send them to a scary, horrible place, Cindy goes there later and is by herself. I'm there later by myself. We all cycle through it.
They just show my
They just show
scared
the
ass.
jumpy guy working. There's times I had an experience in a room and they showed that and, nothing happened.
it's just funny or ashamed of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but a real pet peeve, other than being sent, is if there's a lot of talking, especially when, like if we're trying to board something and trying to allow any potential spirits or whatever to speak. When there's talking and a lot of people making a lot of noise, that's aggravating because we're there to listen to what a potential story could be told to us. And you can't really get that when there's people making a lot of racket.
That does drive me crazy. I feel awkward because I'm like, that was Shane talking. like,
Yeah, I think I'll have to piggyback off of that. It's basically a lot of these locations when they were built far away, but now civilization has caught up to a lot of places. So now you'll be in the middle of an investigation and then a fire truck will go by, a bunch of cars will go by, and you'll have to acknowledge that when you're investigating. It gets to the point where you just get tired of hearing cars drive by, honking and stuff like that. It gets old after you spent money and went to this place, and you've got a finite amount of time to investigate, and you're having to sift through all that at the same time. It gets frustrating.
Mine would be gum chewing.
oh,
Yeah, you're trying to like do an EVP session.
yeah.
As Shane's chewing gum right now.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is doing the shows too. Everybody always wants to know on reality TV, is there any acting? And I will be 100% honest with you, at least in our case, yes, there is acting. And the reason there is acting is because when, like, I did Ghost to Devil's Perch on Butte, Montana, not one son of a bitch was in the town of Butte, Montana. So Shane and I, just as an example, we'd be standing there and be like, all right, so we're gonna go check out the. Sound good to you? Yeah, good. And they'd be like, you guys said, can you do it again? So Shane, we're gonna. Okay, I'll do it, Dave. You'll do what? We couldn't hear him. Could you? So sometimes you'll notice on reality TV where the people talking are real flat and irritated looking. And it's just because it's the 400th time I've said, Shane, why don't you to the basement? Okay, I will. It's because at that point, we've had to shorten whatever we've said to just try to get it in between truck sounds or alarms or church bells ringing. And you never know what's going on. But one of my favorite acting moments was when we were on Holzer Files in season 2. I go, Cindy, where do you feel pulled? She goes, I feel pulled upstairs to where that man had the thing hovering over him. And I go, Shane, listen, in the basement, there's that little kid's ghost. And I don't do well with little kids' ghosts, man. That really freaks me out. So why don't you go to the basement? And Shane turns to me and he goes,
Cover your ears. I said, fuck you, Dave. You go to the basement.
Only he said it with real pain. He's like, oh, you go to the basement. And then they go, we all burst out laughing. And then they're like, do that again. Only nobody laughed this time. Shane, this is your moment to own it. We're like, all right, Shane, you go down to the basement to face the ghost of the child. You fucking go to the basement yourself, Dave Schrader.
It was extremely awkward.
Like 20 times, Schrader in the basement, fuck you. And just said, Dave, just send him to the basement. So I ended up saying, all right, Shane, why don't you go here? I'm going to go to the basement and face my fear.
But it was the only time that I stood up for myself, and it ended up being cut because I couldn't do it.
That thing does not happen. It's a shame because sometimes you're panned in on Shane and I, and Cindy would have this great reaction, and they didn't catch her, and they're like, oh God, Cindy, do that again. And she's like, I can't. That was my natural reaction. They're like, please. And she's like, okay. No. And then it's like, so once in a while when we do the reveal, if there'd be a great moment, they'd love that shock moment and they'd miss it. And Cindy go, just that. So then they'd show it to me and I'd be like, what was that? Right? So those are the only moments of acting that was still conveying the same message. We just have to do it 100 times over and over again.
Yeah.
Was that tough for you guys? You don't have a director telling you gotta reshoot that line.
Yeah, I was wondering if you guys had to do multiple takes.
Oh my gosh. The blindfold.
Yeah, when we originally got to the location, you see us step out of the car and like stand on the curb and then pull our blindfolds off. Probably did that like an hour and a half. or
Yeah, you
so.
only get like one good natural reaction. He did say that. He was like, we only get one shot at this because obviously you only see it once and afterwards you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, 'cause by the end of it, we're just like, wow.
So yeah, because like we're sitting there like, yep,
And then like
yep,
you're stepping out of a blindfold, you're hoping the cops don't fall over flat on
That's
their face. And so like we had to practice stepping out of the car. Like one of us had to pull the seat up so the other person could get out. It was really short.
I was the last one out.
And then leaving was the same way. When we left, they filmed us packing our bags for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, so at this time, we were ready to get the hell home. It's like, okay, it's been 28 days, let us go. Like, we want to get to the airport, we want to go home. Like Ray was saying,
Yeah, we packed our
drove
bags.
around the neighborhood, like, an hour and a half, 2 hours after we're supposed to be going to the airport to get the shots that they needed, and,
How about going up and down the stairs with our suitcases?
that sucked. My suitcase was like 40, 50 pounds or something like that. And it just when I was like, this is a mansion. I wish there was an elevator in it or something because it was horrible.
It was.
I filmed one episode of My Ghost Story like 100 years ago, and they're really not like exaggerating. That they would be like, my go to the stairs, up the stairs, and go to the left. And like, it was just, it's weird.
Yeah.
One time I went to Waverly Hills and I heard this very demonic growl on the first floor. And it turns out that my teammate had Taco Bell before going to Waverly Hills. I was scared for other reasons then. Do you guys have any just ridiculously silly moments on 28 days? Like, did
So
you have
many.
down times that did not make it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yes, there is so much that y'all can see, and so many awesome things, evidence wise, just our personality wise, our downtime.
Well, I love, I tell this every single time I'm on tour again. So Ray was our resident cook, right? Because if it was left up to me, I'd be eating cereal all the time, living like a bachelor in this mansion, right? There's an industrial kitchen. And every week they would send groceries, put it on our front doorstep of anything that we wanted. We had to like write a list and tape it to the front door. They would send somebody to get it while we were sleeping. So we would never have contact with anybody at all. Well, I was excited because it was like, man, we had on the list like pork chops, salad, stuff like that. So I was like, hell yeah, we're gonna be cooking it up. We're gonna be eating, or Ray's gonna be cooking it up. And he's like, all right. And he gets everything out and gets everything, trying to prepare it and stuff. And I was like, why does the pork chops look like that? He's like, what are you talking about, man? It was like, there was like darker brown spots on it, right? I guess it'd been in the refrigerator
No.
for 4 days, 5 days. I was like, there's no way in holy hell I'm gonna be eating that. And Ray is pissed. He's like, come on, man, it's fine. You're being a wimp about this. Just stop. I was like, you can cook it, but I'm not gonna eat it. So like we were like a married couple, like an old married couple. He's like, fine, don't eat it then. He takes that whole container of like 4 of them and tosses it in the trash. And we were pissed off at each other the entire night for that.
Amy, did you get one? Or did they just throw it all away?
No, he threw it all away.
He threw it all away.
Oh,
He was like, fine, if you don't eat, nobody.
It was not my money, it was Netflix. I don't know.
That was all them.
And we fought about food all the time.
kinds.
I made this huge pancake that was like the size of the plate. So I was like, I'll just make one pancake and make like 5 little. You got halfway done.
And I was like, you're like my grandmother, man, like telling me to eat everything off my plate. Come on. It's like, if I don't want to eat anymore, I'm not going to freaking eat anymore. Quit trying to pressure me to eat.
are you a picky eater? Are you a picky eater?
If it's got like brown spots on it, yeah. But I mean, I'll eat. I'm pretty good otherwise, but if it's got some weird shit on there, I'm not going to eat. I'm sorry. But yeah, that was a moment that y'all didn't get to see. And it's like, man, those moments would have been comedic relief. You know, it would have been really cool to show those moments, and they had to cut it because of time restraints. I hate that. And to put it into context too, there's 3 different teams on the show, right? In 3 different places across the country. We filmed 24/7. So while we were sleeping, they had a camera in our room. When we woke up, we had to mic ourselves. We had to put a mic on. And we had to make sure before we said a word that our mic was turned on and the mic was charged up, the mic pack was charged up. So each team filmed, I think we calculated at what, 600 or something hours
672 hours
a piece.
per camera.
So that's over 2,000 hours of footage that was condensed down to a 3.5-hour series on Netflix. So there's so much that y'all were not able to see that I wish you were. And hopefully maybe in the future they can show like a behind the scenes stuff or something.
And this is why they don't let Shane edit, because his idea is exciting to have you guys see them fighting about bad pork chops. Paranormal stuff that went on with the O2. So that kind of
True, but you know what? Look, TV, that's entertaining shit when people are fighting over stuff like that. You know?
Well, okay, so we're kind of getting towards the end of the time. Is there any other questions?
I was actually wondering, during your downtime, you guys every night, I heard footsteps up on the fourth floor every night. I found out that there was a shrine beside my bed for the girls that had been there for, I don't know, like a decade at least. People would come in and they would leave things for the girls. And I mean, I'm not one of those nosy people that goes in and just starts going through people's drawers and stuff. So I just kind of let it sit there until one day, we were in there investigating and we just happened to open it up and found that. So, yeah, but.
Were you ever like, please let me sleep, don't quit walking around?
Well, the second night I was there, the first night, remember that there was that big bang and I screamed, and they didn't get that, which was fantastic, but scary at the same time. The second night, there was a finger that was, well, it seemed like a finger that was poking me from up under the mattress. And if you watch the episodes, you understand what happened to one of the girls who had things happen to them, murdered and shoved under the bed. So at the time, that was the second day, and I had no idea yet as of what was taking place. So that, when I look back on that, that is creepy. But I did not sleep well at all, at all.
Yeah,
But there was things always going on. Yes.
sorry about that. I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, there was footsteps. You would hear footsteps all the time. I remember hearing cabinet doors opening, closing, loud bangs out of nowhere. And so it's not like an old house settling. It was like loud, like thumps. So there was loud bangs and stuff like that, that sometimes we would get up and investigate it, right? And nothing would be there. And then other nights it would do it again and you're like, almost like terrified to get up because you don't know what to expect. We knew we were the only ones in the house. So it was really unnerving whenever those things were going on.
Yeah, there was numerous times that I thought Shane or Amy was walking downstairs, so I'd go ahead and get up, my oh, put on there and eat breakfast, start the day or whatever, and I'd get downstairs and I'd be the only person there. So it was nonstop. I mean, all the time you hear like doorknobs sound like they were trying to open and stuff like that. When you stir stuff up, when you do these investigations, you don't get to tell them, all right, we're done, so you can calm down. They when everything's done. So you're trying to sleep and they're like, hey, you wanted this, so why don't you finish it? You can't leave, so you just gotta live with order. Yeah.
You become roomies.
Yeah, that would be so hard. Like, well, I just really do want to thank you all today for coming and talking to us. Does anybody have any other questions? No? Okay.
Yeah, and before we go to, I just want to thank each and every one of you
Yes.
for taking the time to sit down and listen to our experiences. The reason why we come to these events, the reason why we do what we do is because of all of you. And y'all allow us to be able to do what we do. So we're so appreciative of y'all and your support. And really thank you just for coming out and hanging out.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Let's have a big round of applause.
All right, sorry, we have an extremely long line outside, so I need to make sure everybody. Walk out there.
We're here for it. Are you here for it? Yeah, right?
Come on in, come on in, come on in. All right, my friends over here. You're thanking me. You're paying. True to you. I'll watch this. She's also. No, watch her. She's this one right here. She's real friendly earlier, and then she cooled off. Come on in. Come. Hey, which one is this? We need to bring it down and just a tad. Maybe. Come on in. Come on in. Some of my best friends are walking through the door right now, especially this guy right here. What's up, Texas? You got your VIP? Where you want to sit there? You want to sit right there? Are you holding that seat, bud? The one with the jean jacket? All right. Can we? Is somebody sitting right here next to you, maroon pants? You want to sit right here? Jake is the VIP. Yes. Jake goes to all of them. We're not ready yet. I'm not into ball dudes. Or dudes. I'm into beer dudes. Come on in, come on in. Hey, the family that goes to Scarefest. Oh, I'm pointing at you. Come on in. Now, who's been to Disney? Who's ever been to Phantasmic? You know the move over. Let's try to get everybody in. Lady, you were not demonstrating that. You did this. I don't know what that's about. But I appreciated the view. Come on in. We got a bunch of empty seats in John's lap. John Stith, right over there, the gray-haired gentleman. The woman in front of him, that is not his wife. So you go right ahead and take advantage of it. If you're into gray-haired gentlemen. Come on in. Come on in. That's a lot of red. Stuff. You still owe me a drink too. There's a bunch of you. What are you doing? Yeah, you can. Yeah, there's a bunch of seats back over here too. We're gonna try to get as many people in as we can. Come on in, make your way. All right, we got plenty of people. We got plenty of room. Come on in. They're ready? All ready? Yeah. Holy cow! We got everybody. All right, this is how it's going to work. Come on in, come on in. We got plenty of seats right over here. Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Lewis. Who the hell are you? You're the best audience in the damn state, right? So I get a lot of questions, and some of the questions that I get are often like, who are you most excited about? This one's it. I know I'm not. You all right, ma'am? In the blanket, you good? You good? You need a breath? You need some water? All right. It's okay. It's all right. Take your second. So the reason why we are amazing at this is because we treat them like royalty. We want to treat them like royalty today. So when they come in, when I announce them, you're gonna stand up and you're gonna scream and you're gonna make them feel like they're in Lexington, Kentucky, and they're the smoothest, oldest bourbon you could ever have. Make them feel like Pappy. Got it? You got it for me? Can you do this? So we're gonna have questions, right? Woo, you sons of guns! I'm supposed to keep this PG-13. I really suck at that. Come on in, come on in. Let's try to get everybody in as quickly as we can. We got a bunch of seats over here. I want to sit down so we can get it started so you have as many questions. Who has questions? Yes, you want questions. Who has questions? So what we're going to do is once we start questions, I want somebody to be the first person. Who's going to be the first person? Who wants it? You got money, ma'am? I saw her hand before I did too. Listen, you think this gig is cool? By the way, it really is cool. But I need to make more money. Cat needs to make more money. I'm joking. You got it. So what I'll do is have you all line up over here behind the microphone one at a time. You got this. You work with my buddy right here. And then once we're doing that, we'll get it started. All right? You ready? Hold on for 1 second. Let me meet them real quick. I told you this is the one I was most excited about. Can you tell? Let's give it up for Richard Dreyfuss. Jeremy Clay, Jeffrey Clay, we're sorry. Come on in. You're much prettier. Yes, yes. And everyone have a seat. Let me move my purse.
That kind of greeting is never gonna stop
Morning. As much as we love you, Mr. Drugs, we love all of you, do we not? Now, as I always say, none of you come here to see me, right? Our first question goes to this lady here. You're coming on. Oh, I wasn't joking when we were earlier. You're going to pop this. Oh, I'll kill it. All right. And if you have questions, please line up behind this young lady here, and we will get started. And I will shut up.
Come back. Hello, my name is Amy. My question is for Mr. Richard. I literally found out yesterday that you were the centipede in James and the Giant Peach. It was needed to freak out. So I would just like to know, how did you become casted in that iconic movie?
Oh, you got this.
I was stepped on. Getting me off the field. I auditioned at the same time. It was ugly. Work. So,
Next victim.
I just want to say, thank you for you guys this morning. Fantastic. Once in a lifetime opportunity for me to be in the States, and of course my favourite movie forever. So thank you for that. But my question is for Mr. Davis here. We were in New York last month and we saw The Shark is Broken. We saw you recently saw it. What did you think of the play and how accurate was it?
That's a great question.
It wasn't accurate. And it was, what bothered me was that at any time that he called me and said, can you give some background for your character? Because they made up the character's background, which didn't make a lot of sense. And also because there was a real affection between me and Robert. And he told basically 30 years later that we had a feud hurt. So it hurt. And I don't want that version of that experience was correct. Because I had enormous respect and affection for him. He'd already given some of the greatest performances I've ever seen. And so a lifetime later, by apparently it's from Carl Gottlieb, the writer, who's a friend of mine, and Steven Spielberg, the director. They just, I don't know why, combined to create this story. And it wasn't true. And as friends, I think they really fucked up. And who want to memorialize their own work, they totally should. Because they made it about something silly and cheap. And also, there was never a time when it was the actors against the world. It was the film company against the world, and the character that's missing for me is Steve. And he's safely off stage, and his genius made the film work, and his decision to do this was
What's rude now? Thank you, that's great.
So really quick though, so some of our audience may not know, Shark is Broken is a play that's currently and stars Robert Shaw's son playing his father about the making of Jaws. Right. So it's currently, is it on Broadway now? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here, guys. Very.
don't be sorry.
Thank you so much.
Hi, nervous.
You got this.
Share your first memory, if you will, of Steven Spielberg. Can you tell us when you first met Steven, everybody?
For your first memory of Steven,
Yeah,
we'll
first-
start here and go down.
Well, I flew to Boston. I was an actor in New York. My agent got me appointed. And I read about that they were making this movie in the Vineyard Gazette, which is the local vineyard paper that I read year round. And I flew to Boston and I met Stephen. And we just sat and talked. We did not read. There was no script. There was nothing like that. And when I walked out of the room, I said to a guy who I knew there, and I said, I'm going to get this job. I have never done that before and never done that since. And 10 days later, I was in Virginia, I was shooting a television commercial, and I got the call, and I was blessed. It was lucky, and it metamorphosed my life. Very cool.
Richard, you want to go next, and we go down the line. Do you remember the first time you met Steven?
The first time I met Steven Spielberg,
Can you lean in just a little bit?
I was sitting in, I was invited into the office of the TV producer, and Stephen was sitting in the corner and he was introduced to me. And it was a show that I knew I was going to turn down. And I did. And I said, thank you very much for wanting me to do this, but it's not something I'm interested in. Thank you very much. And one of the two producers went, "Eat it again." And that's when Stephen and I met for the first time. And then he called me some months later and asked me to meet him for lunch because he wanted to talk about me doing a part in Jaws. And he said, and don't read the book. And I said, okay. And I'm such a good actor. I've never read the book even until now. And he offered me the part of Hooper, and I said no. I said, thank you very much, but no. And he said, why? I said, because this is going to be a bitch to shoot. I am very lazy. I can't imagine. And he said, I think he said, check. And then I turned it down again. And then I saw a film that I had just finished shooting. And I watched me in that film. And I thought, if this gets sold in the United States, I will never work again.
Are you going to tell us the movie?
They called me Apprenticeship of Goody Kravitz, and I thought I was a piece of
You were not.
well, I didn't know it then. And so I have to be working on this one. So I went to Steve's hotel, got down on my hands. She gave me. And I went off from there. Many years later, I was describing to him a situation that happened with me and his agent, a thing that is called deal breaking. And that's when they owe you, they have a verbal agreement, which is legal, and they owe you whatever it was that you agreed to verbally. But they've decided for whatever reason, they can't do it. So they have to get me to quit the film. That is called deal breaking. And what they say, in order for you to never want to work with them again, I walked into my agent's office and he was saying, you mean if I don't get Richard to agree to this, you're not going to hire any of my other clients? And I got so angry that I ran to the phone and yelled and screamed. And said, and when I described this to Stephen 15 years later, he said, gosh, that's funny. That's exactly what we did to get Timothy Bottoms out of Jaws.
So you see, there are ups and downs in the Dreyfusian universe.
Please.
I'm Susie. I play Chrissy. I was given the part by a very old stuntman in the business that specialized in water. And he put my name in to the producer to do the part. Well, Stephen wanted an actress from New York. So when I went to meet Stephen on set, I know he wants his actress and not me. So I was like, and when I went up, he was eating his table. This is Stephen. He had a cup in his mouth, like a camera, and he's doing this. And I think, this is Steven Spielberg. And the main thing he said to me was, when you finish your scene, I want to go under the seats with popcorn and bubble gum. So we tried to do that. I think we succeeded.
Oh, hello. I'm the youngest one to die in that movie. I had just moved down to that island, Martha's Vineyard, Amity Island, the year before they filmed it. And like everyone else, they had to go meet Stephen in offices or all over the place. And I was just a young 12-year-old kid, and they were making a movie on this island, and they need a lot of extras, so we all signed up for $40 a day. And then Stephen wasn't in the picture yet. They called a few people back. The oldest kid, Sheriff Brody's son, he worked for Christopher Bello. He got a speaking part. They called me. I read a line. Oh, you got a speaking part. You don't get $40 a day like your friends at 40. And still didn't know Spielberg yet. And then they started filming, and then Spielberg, everyone's down on the island then. It's a small island. We can break it when they have the shark cruise. You know, they didn't have cameras and security there, but and finally, when Spielberg was down, started in DC, my scene, it was so cold, they tried to wait later. You had to go in that water up in New England. You don't want to swim in that in July. And they did that. You had to be out before Memorial Day weekend. So people like, afraid of the shark. No, it's afraid of freeze my 12-year-old ass off. But Spielberg, that whole thing really didn't get going. It's with him, Tom, the 12-year-old kid, and I got a speaking part. And then before they did that scene where I get eaten, they had that little parade. And I just got to the island. I played the drums in that band. Spielberg, when I first met him, he goes, I'm there with the drums, all excited, 12-year-old kid. And he comes over, Mr. Voorhees or Jeff, whatever you call him. He pulled me over. He goes, you can't be in this. And this is the first time I met him. I'm like, why not? Because you die in this movie. And he wasn't going to let me be in it because of that part. And I was just a little kid, small island. And I go, why can't I be in it? And finally, after a little pain in the 12-year-old blood down there, it's like went up and he finally goes, you know what? You're not dead yet. You can be in that scene too. So that's always a big tribute. Like, oh, that's how we did one. And that was the first time I met him there. But then that was, it's fun. You would see him around, and then when they did my scene, that's where it was great. Let me be in the parade scene, and then that scene, it was one of his first movies. When they was doing they filmed that in May, and that water is so cold in May, and Spielberg wanted everything perfect. One of his first movies. I'm just a 12-year-old kid. He's like, okay, Spielberg's telling me, big leap hero, my mother had to go back in the water. And when she says, finally, you can go in, start swimming on this raft, and all those little details are all fake. And all my friends are on the beach there, and Spielberg's like, okay, now, beg to go in and start swimming on. We'll say cut. So we did that, and then he says cut, and Spielberg was like, they tried a little mannequin where they start fighting and body parts were flying. In the 70s, horror movies were like King Kong, Godzilla, they go, this is too gory, little parts flying there. Spielberg was like, okay, we have this barrel full of blood out there. They can go back in the water and swim out there. And we say cut, and they put a half raft over this barrel full of blood. Spielberg's like, you lie on top of it, and you wanted everything perfect. And when this thing explodes, go in the water and stay there as long as you can. 12-year-old freezing a little ass off, it's gonna explode. It's like the first time, bam, blood starts flying up everywhere. Go in the water, swim ashore, finally freeze my little ass off. And go to Spielberg, we all set. I just wanted out of there. No, your arm came out of the water. We got to do it again. It's like, this is where he was nice and let me in the parade. How did he make me go back in that damn cold water while on the sheet blowing up blood? And The second time, and it would take 7 hours for all that blood because they were off the foot. The second time, Spielberg said, okay, let's try it again. The second time, no, your leg came out of the water. You make me do it again. It's like, freezing cold, and all the people on the beach go, my brother, everyone's in that, they're all pissed. I screwed up. They're freezing cold. I had to join the screen actors guild, so take me up to a nice warm dressing room. Oh, see you guys later. Then like after 5 days, it was taking so long, Spielberg probably said, okay, this time we're gonna do it a different way. He goes, this time we have 2 guys in wetsuits. We have that machine, and when that explodes, each one's gonna grab one of your legs and lift you in and out of the water a few times. That's why you see go up. Okay. And so basically day 5, these 2 guys lift you in and out of the water, pull you underneath the air, and then Spielberg was like, okay, we probably got it after 5 days. But that's where it was fun. You see him around a little bit.
You know, those were the days when Steven was still Steven. Now he's Spielberg.
Yes. So the scene is about when Brody, Hooper, and Quint beginning to end from them comparing injuries to Quint in the Indianapolis speech to show me the way to go home. Best scene, one of the best scenes in movie history.
Yeah.
I know Quint's speech definitely was scripted, but was all of that scripted, or was it just you guys having fun and Spielberg just recording it?
No, it was scripted, every line. And what wasn't scripted was the speech. And Stephen being Stephen, he went to school with and was best friend with Francis Coppola, George Lucas, and
John Million.
everyone, and everyone was friends took a shot at the speech. So Milius is everyone's favorite right-wing director. He's our Teddy Roosevelt. And he wrote a 16-page version of that speech. And Francis Coppola wrote some enormous saga based on Apocalypse Now. And everyone, all the talent it was in that generation, also took a shot at that. It was eventually written by Stephen and Robert. And Robert, because he's a wonderful writer and had a play, a very good play on Broadway at that moment. And Stephen, because he has a great sense of theater, he has a wonderful sense of a lot of things. Friendship. He knew how to write that character. And so he condensed all of his friends' words into this much shorter thing. And what happened was that on the day, we were just getting over the fact that our script supervisor, Charles Lee, was a woman who was about 60 years old and a total alcoholic. And she could not stand being on the ocean. So she received by radio all the stuff she had to write down. We were literally speaking into a mic that said, and we said, he lifted his left arm on the word section, and he did this and he did that. And fed it to her. Yeah, she was a little. And then we find out that Robert had that you wanted to try it really drunk. And that was the beginning of the longest day of my life. That was, I'm in the shop. And if I'm in the shop, I can't move. I can't leave. If my mother died, I have to stay. And so I watched my friend, you know, wither and die in front of me because he was, when you're drunk, you get worse. And when you get worse, you get embarrassed and humiliated. You get worse. And that day lasted from about, God knows, 7 or 8 in the morning. And we broke. Stephen eventually was just trying to get Robert to get to an ending of the sentence. And he took him all day. All. And I'm sitting there in the shop, sweating bullets for my friend. And that night, my friend got the bullets. They were apparently, Robert called Stephen at 3 o'clock in the morning. And he said, how badly did I humiliate myself? And Stephen said, not fair. And he came to me this day, and he did the whole thing in one take. One take. That what you see in this movie is what he did in one take. And I don't know if you know this, but Robert was in 12 Seasons, and in it he played King Henry. And the whole scene is him arriving by barge and dancing with Vanessa Redgrave in the park. And then he has this long and incredibly intense conversation with Paul Scofield. He leaves. He gets back to the boat. That's the whole scene. He did it in one day. The whole scene in one day. And was nominated for an Academy Award. And it was so easy to see that he was going to be nominated for the work he did that day. I mean, it was like watching Rembrandt. It's like watching a grand artist.
And I thought Robert Engel was still. You're on something.
Mr. Jarvis, nice to meet you. Mr. Kramer, nice to meet you. My question is, well, I was going to ask about, because I heard that Shaw was notorious for bringing the drink concept. My next question is how many times did you guys have to sit around and wait because you heard the announcement the shark was broken?
Well, every day. Yeah. I mean, the shark would come out. First of all, I don't know if you know this, but that our movie was the first film ever attempted to be shot on the real ocean. Every film that had ever been shot with ocean was in a tank in the back of Universal Studios or whatever. Until Stephen said, let's try to do this on the real ocean. That was rather impossible. And the shark would come up, break the surface, and go And the reason that there's a line in the speech where Robert says, hello. He had two eyes, made from a doll. Yeah.
Child. My family frequented the driving, and I got away with it forever. Like the first film always being Penguin Film, the second film being The Shining or Jaws and stuff. Until Jaws, I got away with it. I had my little place press as hard as I could, thinking my parents didn't see me. But that night, I had a nightmare so bad, I woke up my mother because her hand was on the beach wearing a ring. So how's it been being the person associated with what happens to somebody when they hear those famous two notes?
What you do? Yeah, what's that like? People continuously. That she was asking you about what that's like. Yeah, you, Susan, about what's that like being that person, and you giving all these people their nightmare fuel for 50 years. 48. Not really, though, right? Perfect.
So. Hi, thank you all for being here this weekend. I just want to say Jaws is one of the most iconic movies for me. I remember being in the first grade watching it in the drive-through. So with that being said, most movies throughout our family have come a long way. Watching it, it's a great movie. My daughter is now a marine biologist, thanks to you. She's wanting to work with sharks. So my question is, was there actually live sharks anywhere around all of the time? Or?
We don't know.
You did.
No, no. I was watching on the workplace one day, and all the guys from LA were driving to go hard. And I'm standing next to the captain of the workplace, and I said, "What's your name?" And he said, "You kidding me?" I never said it before. And I said, "Why?" He said, "Shut swimming. Sharks. They're everywhere. He says 80% of all Muslims swim there.
You know, none of us have ever swum the same again.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for coming as always. Standing here, I just realized it was 48 years and 1 month ago today that I saw Josh for the first time. I've met you all millions of times, proud to call someone. And I want to ask a question to each of you that I always get asked. Why? Why are we here 48 years later? What do you think it is about the film that it still resonates 5 decades later?
Okay, I'll go first. As unaccustomed as I am to speaking, I think it was actually a perfect creative storm. Nothing worked the way it should. Nothing was easy. Nothing worked well. I was, actually, the shark not working was good for me. My part got a little bit bigger. They had to have cover sets. But the truth of the matter is, it all came together in the editing room and music added, and it turned into be the first ever major summer blockbuster. Changed the way they marketed movies, changed all of our lives, and we are all blessed, I think, to have been a part of it. But during the show, we thought they were going to cancel it, we were going to get shut down. They were way over budget, over time, nothing was positive. So, there.
Say there is one great individual creative genius because some time after Joe, I went to a tribute to Steve, and I had written in the program a rather long essay about that night, about that summer. And in it, I said that I had been privileged to watch a boy grow into a man. And if you had gone, if you wandered the set of drawings at any time, and were told to pick out the authority figure, you could not get it right. You couldn't get it right. Stephen was the guy who didn't think he was a big deal, but he was. And he was faced with a problem that had conquered and killed many directors. He had to reconceive everything he ever thought about shooting this into a movie. Because none of it worked. The shark did not work. Shooting. And couldn't even find firm footing for the foundation of the shark on the ocean floor. It was constantly falling over and constantly when I say you had to see, remember the first moment of the film is a moment that you don't see anything. You're afraid. You're afraid. You don't even know why. And it's his ability to turn on a dime and change whatever he thought was an issue out. And he started to shoot what he had. And that was the actors and his telling this, what he called a bullet. He told one story as opposed to 5 or 6 or 7 subplots in the novel. Threw that all out and told one story about that shark eating that town, us going out together. And you can't, that's something you can never take away from him, ever. And everyone's opinion of Stephen, which had always been high, went right through the roof. And the next one was Close Encounters. The last production, I didn't have to be there, but I went anyway to see, because now all of the departments lived in fear of Stevenson. So much more than they thought. And they knew that if they made a mistake and screwed up this shot, or this day, or this film, they would rue the day. Not because he's angry or he is disappointed. He grew up. He didn't grow up to be a nice man. He grew up to be a man. And Carl Gottlieb, to this day, Carl Gottlieb is telling you that he wrote Jaws. Bullshit. It was written by Steven Spielberg, Robert Shaw, Roy Scheider, myself, the editorial, the editor, this guy. We all ate together every night, and the editor would come with a list of shots that were needed, shots that were not needed, she suggested. And every night over that dinner, major decisions, offshoots, paths that we never thought we'd go down were decided and committed. And Richard Zanuck was there, the producer, the money guy, the one who said yes or no. And there were times when, everyone at that table would turn, look at Zanuck, and wait for his approval or not. Because what we had just been talking about was going to cost anywhere between $80,000 and $1 million. Adding a scene here and a scene there. And that was Steven got to play the greatest director's that ever, given to a child. And he did it. So at the same time that he was somewhere in the back of his sick mind, he was deciding on this huge bullshit, also created this great film. And why are you interested in it now? Because you can't find a mistake. Because you can't know that what you're feeling is what the people next to you feel. And that the people next to you are feeling what their aunts and uncles when they saw it 20 years earlier. It is a truly universal experience. And it's a universal experience of fear and horror. And then of champion, and finding heroism in normal people.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I think we only have time for one last question. I'm so sorry. Please.
I just want to say thank you very much for coming to Kentucky. Thank you for your time. My wife and I both love Jaws very much. One of the first horror movies I ever saw in my life. But I wanted to speak about that. Most of it's horror, but a lot of it's laughter. And the moment you describe is when you make that face. And it's funny, those bright moments of funny, was that scripted? Was that you? Was it? Let's talk about that moment if you would just for a second.
For $1,000.
He studied years to make that face.
And I get 10%.
All of you in the story. And all of us could feel in the story. And I knew at that story, we needed a little tiny little break. So I did that for Robert. And it was up to Stephen as to whether or not it was right or wrong. So do it again. Do it again. And that's what I mean by, no director makes a film all by himself. You make a film with a team. And directors have the final say. The actual process is an incredible collaboration on the part of hundreds of people every day. And people come up with ideas. You'd be shocked at where an idea is born and how it can be used for a moment. And I remember there's one shot, and it's a shot that is on my feet, and it stays on my feet as I try to get to the top of the and tie off one of the things. And I never figure out why was it on my feet? What was so important about it? And when I saw the movie, I understood that he had been tracking me being tracked by Robert. Like, and how he kept it in his head, God,
All right, go ahead.
You know, I was just gonna say that part of the reason I think that I meant to say this before and I didn't. The idea that the shark didn't work and all these delays and everything else, he really had to rely on character. This is a story told through people that are real and recognizable and empathizable, and you root for them. And that was the key, I think, in many ways.
Absolutely. Hold on. I just want to say, this is a dream come true for me. Some of you have been following me for years. I never do this. I never do this for all the cons. I named my son Quint. If it had been a twin, the other one would have been Hooper. Thank you all so much. We love you. It means the world to us. I hope you enjoy my There's going to be a present all weekend. You'll send them some love. Spend some money. Give it up for the cast of John.
What are you looking for? Right here. Start 15 minutes.